Ultimately, the people in this country need to know what's in their food. And if we start contaminating the DNA of our food with DNA from other animals or viruses, the pollen could spread, and we don't know what could happen.
Mr. Macy, a congressman in America, YouTube, so don't flag this video or take it down or punish me. This is his words. He's the congressman. He's explaining what's going on. All right, guys, we're going to get right into it. The last video, we talked about Amos Miller. He's an Amish farmer who wants to provide good food, God's food, to his neighbors and his community. The Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture has stepped in now and is harassing him, telling him that he cannot sell that food, and they have literally confiscated all of his food and put an injunction on him. It was called the worst injunction in American history.
It's one of the most punitive injunctions ever issued in the history of the country. And so right now Amos Miller is not allowed to make raw milk products. He's not allowed to deliver them. He's not allowed to give them away. He's not allowed to feed his own family unless they give him advance permission. He's not allowed to feed his own pigs unless they give him advance permission. That's how strict this current injunction is. So hopefully the court at least modifies it so it's not as punitive as it currently is, but we'll find out.
Okay, now I want you guys to know that the reason why they're after Amos Miller is not necessarily because he's selling food directly to consumers. The problem is that Amos Miller will not contaminate his food with chlorine, chloride, radiation of the meat. He will not pasteurize his milk because he knows that when you pasteurize milk, you actually kill all the beneficial enzymes. You know, Congressman Massey, over 5, 6, 7 months ago, found out that a bill that Congress had passed earlier, because, you know, Congress is actually passing bills now before they even know what's in them.
We're very, you've heard about the controversies within the bill, the process about the bill, one of the items, but I don't know if you have heard that it is a legislation for the future. Not just about health care for America, but about a healthier America, where preventive care is not something that you have to pay a deductible for or out of pocket, that prevention. It's about diet, not diabetes. It's going to be very, very exciting. But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
Mr. Macy, a congressman in America, YouTube, so don't flag this video or take it down or punish me. This is his words. He's the congressman. He's explaining what's going on.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Kentucky seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk.
The clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 86, printed in Part F of House Report number 118-216, offered by Mr. Massey of Kentucky.
Pursuant to House Resolution 723, the gentleman from Kentucky, Mr. Massey, and a member opposed, each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Kentucky.
Mr. Chairman, I rise in support of my amendment, which states that none of the funds made available by this act may be used to fund any grant related to any transgenic edible vaccine. Does the term transgenic edible vaccine sound far-fetched?
And what do you know? Thomas even hipped us onto a new word, transgenic. What does transgenic mean?
Here's the definition of transgenic. Relating to or denoting an organism that contains genetic material into which DNA from an unrelated organism has been artificially introduced.
Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not really into eating transgenic food, but I am into eating what the Father has said we should eat. And God said, let the earth bring forth grass and herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth, and it was so. And the earth brought forth grass and herb yielding seed after his kind, and tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after his kind, and God saw that it was good.
We're funding it. In fact, scientists from the University of California, Riverside, funded with your taxpayer dollars, have been studying whether they can turn edible plants, such as lettuce and spinach, into mRNA vaccine factories, thereby creating a transgenic edible vaccine. One associate professor at UCR explained that ideally a single plant would produce enough mRNA to vaccinate a single person. We are testing this approach with spinach and lettuce and have long-term goals of people growing it in their own gardens. Farmers could also eventually grow entire fields of it. Well, my colleague on the other side of the aisle talks about keeping prices low. I think there's more to it than that for the American people. And he also speaks as if these vaccines, these transgenic edible plant vaccines, are only used for livestock. Well, in fact, they have been used for livestock. I'll get to that in a second. But they're also being used for people. That is the intended outcome of many of these programs that we are funding with money from the USDA. What could possibly go wrong with this research? Well, we found out a few years ago when a biotech company was experimenting, growing in corn a vaccine to keep pigs from getting diarrhea. What happened? Well, the next year where the corn was grown, the prior year, the corn came up and it got commingled with soybeans that were being grown there. It contaminated 500 bushels of soybeans, which were then commingled with 500,000 bushels of soybeans. And those all had to be recalled and destroyed. Luckily, they caught it. Do we want humans eating vaccines that were grown in corn meant to stop pigs from getting diarrhea? I don't think we want that to happen. Yet that almost happened, and it could happen. There's another case where the pollen cross-contaminated another crop of corn, and 155 acres of corn had to be burned. What are the cases where we're not discovering this? I think it's dangerous to play God with our food. I think we need a safe food supply. And this is about food safety. Ultimately, the people in this country need to know what's in their food. And if we start contaminating the DNA of our food with DNA from other animals or viruses, the pollen could spread, and we don't know what could happen.
My belief is that when you cannot pronounce words to the food that you're eating, that they've added these chemicals into, and you cannot even pronounce these chemicals, that you probably shouldn't be eating them. That is probably adversely affecting your health. These videos are merely to inform you. That's it. I just want you guys to know what's going on. Full disclosure, so you can make the best decision. Leave a comment down below if you ever heard that word before, transgenic. Also, leave a comment down below. Are you for man's design or for God's design? And we'll see you guys on the next video. Please share this video with your friends. This is a congressman who got caught in the trick bag from Nancy Pelosi's pass the bill so we know what's in it scam, who is now finding out that in this one particular part of this legislation is an acceptance of putting chemicals into our food that could adversely affect the whole human race. All right? How many other things have they passed in bills that we are unaware of that are just going to start popping up? Okay? See you guys on the next video.